We're counting down the 11 computers that defined the 1980s, ranking the machines that transformed living rooms into game arcades, coding labs, and creative studios. From ultra-affordable tech that flung open the doors to first-time users, to powerhouses that set the stage for music and multimedia revolutions, each entry earned its place based on impact, accessibility, and innovation. Expect iconic names, bold flops, and the legendary systems that sparked coding crazes and global sales records. Which computer truly changed the game, and which just changed the price tag? Let's kick off our countdown with number 11, the machine that proved you could own a computer for less than £100. In the 11th place, Sinclair's ZX81 smashed the price barrier in 1981 with a kit for just £49.95, or £69.95 if you wanted it assembled, making it the first computer you could buy for less than £100. That sticker shock alone turned heads, and suddenly, the idea of owning a computer wasn't just for engineers or the wealthy. Minimalist to the core, it shipped with just 1 kilobyte of RAM and a basic membrane keyboard, but for many, that was enough to start coding right at the kitchen table. When Timex brought it to the US as the Timex Sinclair 1000, nearly 600,000 units flew off shelves, even if the experience was, let's say, a little Spartan. No sound, black and white graphics only, and you'd better not sneeze near that touchy keyboard. Still, the ZX81 proved affordability could open the door to a whole new world and set the stage for every home computer that followed. In the 10th place, Atari's STF model stepped up in 1986 as the family-friendly face of the ST series. The F stood for floppy, meaning, for the first time, buyers got a built-in 3.5-inch SF354 disk drive instead of wrestling with external add-ons or cassettes. That, plus 512 kilobytes of RAM as standard, made it a practical choice for living rooms and bedrooms, not just hobbyist dens. It came in at a lower price than the original 520 ST, putting 16-bit computing within reach for more households and signaling Atari's push to win over mainstream buyers. The integrated design meant less cable chaos and a setup that just worked. No need to hunt for peripherals before you could load up a game or type a letter. While it didn't grab headlines like the pro-oriented Mega ST or the later STE's graphics leap, the STF quietly made the ST line feel accessible, affordable, and ready for everyday use. Number 9. Atari's Mega ST set its sights firmly on the professional crowd in 1987, ditching the all-in-one look for a sleek, rack-style case and a detachable keyboard that finally felt at home in a studio or design office. This wasn't just about appearances. The Mega ST packed up to 4 megabytes of RAM, a real-time battery-backed clock, and an internal expansion slot for add-ons like memory boards or even a math coprocessor. Later boards included a DMA port for external SCSI hard drives, a must for desktop publishing and CAD setups that needed more than just a floppy disk. Advertisements pushed the Mega ST as a serious workstation, bundling it with laser printers and DTP software like Calamus to lure small studios away from pricier Macs. But while it carved out a niche in European design and engineering circles, the Mega ST's proprietary expansion and limited US uptake kept it from truly breaking into the mainstream. Still, for a few years, it was the affordable pro's secret weapon. 8th place, Sinclair's QL promised a quantum leap in 1984, aiming to pull the brand out of the bedroom and into the boardroom. Under the hood, it ran on a Motorola 68008 processor, 32-bit registers, 8-bit bus, offering business-class muscle at a fraction of IBM's price. The bundled Scion suite, Quill for word processing, Abacus for spreadsheets, Archive and Easel, looked ready to take on the office. But the QL's story is a lesson in how ambition can outrun execution. Shipping delays plagued the launch, and early units arrived with buggy ROMs so unstable that Sinclair had to send out external ROM dongles just to keep them running. The dual micro drives, meant to outpace floppy disks, turned out fragile and unreliable. Data loss and tape jams were common. Fewer than 150,000 QLs ever sold, as business users lost patience and software never caught up. The QL's bold specs showed what could be possible, but its rushed debut and hardware headaches made it a cautionary tale for every computer maker chasing the next big leap. 7th place, the Amstrad CPC 464 made home computing as easy as plugging in a toaster. Launched in 1984 at around £199 for the whole bundle, it shipped with the computer, a built-in cassette deck, and your choice of a green or color monitor. No messy cables or searching for a family TV. Powered by a Z80 processor running at 4 MHz and packing 64 kilobytes of RAM, it was ready for both games and homework right out of the box. Amstrad's marketing leaned hard on that simplicity, promising families a computer that just worked, no technical headaches required. In the UK, France, and Spain, the formula paid off. Parents bought in, kids loaded up tapes, and the CPC 464 found its way into millions of living rooms. It wasn't the flashiest or most powerful, but by making the setup painless, Amstrad turned the computer from a tangle of wires into a household appliance, setting the stage for the disk-based 6128 that would follow. In 6th place, the Amstrad CPC 6128 arrived in 1985 and immediately raised the bar for what a home computer could do, especially if you were ready to get serious about more than just games. It swapped out the cassette deck for a built-in 3-inch floppy disk drive, a move that made loading software almost instant and opened the door to bigger, more complex programs. With 128 kilobytes of RAM, double the memory of its predecessor, the 6128 could handle full-featured business software and let students run larger, faster games without constant tape swapping. Locomotive Basic 1.1 came as standard, and for the first time you could boot into CP/M+, the same operating system found on office machines. Amstrad bundled it all for around £299, monitor included, making it a compelling choice for families wanting to do word processing, spreadsheets, or even a bit of coding. While its impact stayed strongest in the UK, France, and Spain, the 6128's disk drive and extra memory set the stage for the multimedia leap that 16-bit machines would soon deliver. 5th place, the Atari STE burst onto the scene in 1989 as Atari's answer to the multimedia arms race. Under the hood, it packed a hardware blitter that could move blocks of graphics up to 4 times faster than the old ST. Suddenly, scrolling shooters and platformers had silky movement, and demo crews could fill the screen with sprites and effects that just weren't possible before. The color palette exploded from 512 to 4,096 shades, giving artists and game designers a new playground for gradients and photorealistic images, even if the standard display still capped at 16 colors at once. But the real headline for music fans and demo sceners was the new DMA stereo sound, 8-bit samples at up to 50 kHz, blasting out crisp digital audio that left the old square wave PSG in the dust. Titles like Obsession and demo classics like Syntax Terror squeezed every drop from the STE's new tricks, but with most commercial games still targeting the older ST base, the full potential was unleashed mostly by demo scene coders pushing the hardware to its limits. The STE was proof that Atari could still innovate, but you had to look in the right places to see it shine.
4th place, Atari's ST Plus changed the beat of the 1980s by making music production accessible to anyone with a dream and a spare bedroom. Launched with built-in MIDI ports, 2 DIN5 connectors right there on the back, it let musicians plug in synthesizers and drum machines without buying expensive add-ons or fiddling with flaky adapters. Suddenly, timing was rock solid, with less than 1 millisecond of MIDI jitter, and studios everywhere started trading in their tape sync headaches for an ST. The cost savings were huge, but the cultural shockwave was even bigger. Depeche Mode sequenced hits on it, Fatboy Slim's early tracks pulsed through its circuits, and Cubase 1.0 debuted as the first professional MIDI sequencer for the masses, all on this humble gray box. Hundreds of studios, from London to Berlin, filled up with STs, and for a while, if you wanted to make electronic music, you wanted an Atari. No other home computer of the era made such a direct leap from the living room to the recording studio, setting the stage for the multimedia creativity that would define the next wave of home computing. Third place, the Commodore Amiga 500 didn't just raise the bar for home computers, it redefined what creative people could do in their living rooms. Powered by a Motorola 68000 CPU and a trio of custom chips, Paula for 4-channel stereo PCM audio, Denise for 32-color graphics at 640 by 256 resolution, and Agnes for memory management, the Amiga 500 brought arcade-quality visuals and sound to a price point families could afford. Over 5 million units found their way into homes, and for good reason. This was the first machine where you could sketch a sprite in deluxe paint, animate it, and hear it roar, all without a degree in computer science. Deluxe Paint itself became the secret weapon for game studios and TV designers, letting artists draw backgrounds and characters that would show up everywhere from blockbuster games to children's cartoons. The Amiga didn't just play games, it made them. Its graphics were so advanced that TV stations used Amigas for on-air graphics, and the Amiga 4000 even landed in Hollywood, powering the early CGI effects for shows like Babylon 5. Suddenly, the leap from bedroom coder to digital artist or animator was real. No more wrangling with color clash or monotone beeps. While earlier machines like the Spectrum or C64 made you a coder, the Amiga 500 handed you a palette and a mixing desk, turning home computing into home multimedia. For a whole generation, it wasn't just a computer, it was the first real taste of creative power. In second place, the Sinclair ZX Spectrum turned British bedrooms into the beating heart of a new software revolution. Launched in 1982 for £125, it arrived with a rubber keyboard that felt more like a novelty eraser than a computer. But that didn't stop over 5 million from landing in homes across the UK. The ritual started with the screech of cassette tapes, kids pressing play and waiting as blue and red loading bars crawled across the screen. The promise of Manic Miner or Jet Set Willy building with every minute. Sometimes the wait was 5 minutes, sometimes longer, and if the tape glitched, you rewound and tried again, because the payoff was worth it. For many, the Spectrum was the first taste of programming. Magazines like Sinclair User and Your Spectrum printed pages of basic code, inviting readers to type in entire games or utilities by hand. Typos were inevitable, but so was the satisfaction of seeing your own code come to life. The machine's limited palette of 15 colors and simple sound chip didn't stop a tidal wave of creativity. Teenage coders, like Matthew Smith at just 17, wrote hits like Manic Miner from their bedrooms, sending cassettes off to publishers and sometimes finding overnight success. The Spectrum didn't just launch games, it launched careers. By the mid-80s, the UK was home to hundreds of tiny software houses, many run by teenagers, all feeding a booming market for cassette games. The Spectrum's affordability and open design made it the people's computer, and its grassroots culture turned the UK into a powerhouse of software innovation. While it never matched the Commodore 64's global reach, no other machine captured the spirit of DIY coding and after-school game swapping quite like the Spectrum. For a generation, the screech of a loading tape and the bounce of rubber keys meant the start of something extraordinary. A culture where anyone with patience and a bit of imagination could become a creator.
And finally, in first place, the Commodore 64. Launched in August 1982 at $595, it didn't just outsell every other home computer of the decade. It became the best-selling single model of all time, with an estimated 17 million units finding their way into bedrooms, classrooms, and living rooms around the world. But the C64 wasn't just about numbers. Under its beige plastic shell lurked the legendary SID chip, the MOS 6581, designed by Bob Jans. With 3 independent voices, each offering triangle, sawtooth, pulse width modulation, and noise waveforms, plus a multi-mode analog filter, the SID gave the C64 a voice like nothing else on the market. Game composers like Rob Hubbard and Martin Galway didn't just write music. They bent the rules, using rapid arpeggios to fake chords, filter sweeps for drama, and clever hacks to squeeze sampled drums and speech through a chip never meant for it. Suddenly, game soundtracks sounded like real music, and the C64 became a favorite not just for players, but for demo scene musicians and future synthwave stars. Commodore's aggressive price war in 1983 sent rivals like Texas Instruments scrambling, slashing the C64's retail cost and making it the affordable choice for families everywhere. That democratization turned the C64 into the platform of choice for a generation of coders, artists, and musicians. Kids who learned BASIC, swapped games on floppy disks, and dreamed up new worlds in sprite graphics and SID melodies. The quirks of the SID, its filter inconsistencies, chip-to-chip personality, and even the infamous volume register bug, became the stuff of legend, inspiring chiptune artists decades later to chase that unmistakable sound. From the thunderous opening of Commando to the lush melodies of The Last Ninja, the C64's music wasn't just background noise, it was the heart of the experience, and it set the gold standard for computer audio. No other machine of the era combined mass market reach, technical innovation, and lasting cultural impact quite like the Commodore 64. 17 million SIDs can't be wrong. The C64 didn't just win the numbers game, it gave the world a new way to play, to create, and to listen.
From the bare-bones affordability of the Sinclair ZX-81 to the global dominance of the Commodore 64, our countdown of the 80s most influential computers reveals a decade driven by both radical innovation and a relentless push for accessibility. Across all 11 entries, certain patterns stand out. The constant balancing act between price and power, the leap from cassette tapes to floppy disks, and the rise of multimedia and user creativity. Unexpected stories, like the Sinclair QL's ambitious flop or the Atari ST Plus quietly revolutionizing music studios, prove that impact wasn't always tied to sales numbers. The top of the list is defined by machines that blended technical breakthroughs with massive cultural reach, from the Spectrum's bedroom coder boom to the Amiga 500's creative toolkit and the Commodore 64's unmatched sales and sound. Ultimately, the computers of the 80s didn't just change living rooms, they set the stage for a world where anyone could create, play, and invent. Their legacy is the digital creativity we take for granted today.